Hey everyone, let's jump right into today's explainer because we are looking at an absolutely incredible classic fable. It's a story that perfectly, and I mean perfectly, illustrates the devastating cost of sudden, unexplained wealth. We're going to unpack a brilliant, highly emotional narrative that forces us to look at the massive clash between desperate poverty, flashy sudden riches, and the ultimate price of our moral choices. If you've ever wondered what actually happens when a flimsy illusion of success crashes into the harsh reality of the truth, well, this is the explainer for you.
Listen to the raw emotion in this quote. I ate meat palau in this broken house with that illegal, sinful money. This is a father's ultimate tragic realization, and it's really the core of our entire story. Now, meat palau is a very rich, luxurious dish. It's a symbol of extreme celebration and wealth in this context. But to understand how we end up at this point of just profound heartbreak and shame, we actually have to go back to the beginning and trace the steps of a family pushed to their absolute limits.
Section 1. The Son's Return. From Village Poverty to Sudden Riches. Our story kicks off with a long-awaited return of a son named Vikram. He's been away in the city for years, completely out of touch, basically leaving his parents to fend for themselves. And his arrival sets up this brilliant extreme contrast. On one hand, we have the father, Mahendra, who is utterly destitute. He is literally begging the local shopkeeper for just a handful of basic rice and lentils on credit just to survive the day, only to get harshly turned away because of his mounting debts. And then, juxtaposed right against that, here comes his son Vikram, pulling back into the village in a massive, expensive car, immediately complaining about the village dust and the heat. He's acting exactly like a wealthy city elite who has completely forgotten his humble roots. Now, you'd think this massive, stark difference would set off immediate red flags, right? But despite their deep, grinding poverty and their physically broken, crumbling house, the parents' only wish is to feed their returning son the best possible meal. The father's pure, unconditional love completely blinds him to how weird his son's arrival really is. Mahendra's actually willing to go borrow money from the village head just to ensure his son is comfortable and well-fed. It's this beautifully tragic display of parental devotion. Moving to Section 2. Grand Feast in a Broken House. An unbelievable banquet. So Vikram isn't just looking for a simple home-cooked meal from his struggling parents. He decides to escalate things dramatically and throw a massive banquet for the entire village. Take a second to look at this specific number, 15 to 20. Vikram marches down to the local butcher and orders an astounding 15 to 20 kilograms of fresh meat. Keep in mind, in a village where his own father couldn't secure a handful of rice on credit that very same morning, buying 15 to 20 kilograms of premium meat is an astronomical, almost unthinkable display of wealth. And it doesn't stop there. This whole thing is designed to build a massive illusion of success. Vikram hauls in an entire year's worth of groceries. He invites literally every single villager to this massive lunch. He casually promises his parents he's going to fix their broken house soon, brushing off all their worries. And through it all, his father, Mahendra, is just beaming with immense pride. He feels totally vindicated. The scale of Vikram's spending is wildly out of place for a guy whose parents live in a crumbling shack. But, for a brief moment, the family is living the absolute dream. Section 3. The Villager's Suspicion, Whispers, and Doubts. Of course, you know how small villages are. Logic eventually pierces right through the illusion. People start talking, observing, kind of putting the pieces together, and a skeptical shopkeeper hits the nail on the head, asking Mahendra directly, isn't he doing some illegal work? It's a pretty brutal thing to ask a proud father, but it plants this dark, unavoidable seed of doubt. The villagers know that Bikram's sudden, overflowing pockets just do not align with an honest, entry-level city job. The community just sees the elephant in the room. They recognize the completely bizarre contradiction here. Cooking luxurious, incredibly expensive meat palau inside a structurally failing, broken house makes zero sense. The villagers realize that honest money takes time to build. It's methodical, but this kind of flashy, reckless display of cash, it feels incredibly suspicious, unearned, and frankly, pretty dangerous. Which brings us to Section 4, Nighttime Darkness and Fear. The facade crumbles. The grand feast ends, the villagers go home full and happy, the sun finally goes down, and wow, the tone of our story shifts dramatically into gripping suspense. Ask yourself this question. Why is the city boy suddenly so afraid of the dark? I mean, why would a seemingly successful, powerful man who just flexed his wealth to the entire town suddenly start acting like terrified prey in his own childhood home the exact second the sun sets. Look at his behavior step by step. First, Vikram locks the doors tight at the very first sign of darkness. Second, when a rainstorm hits, he outright refuses his mother's simple request to step out into the yard just to save their valuable jute sticks from getting ruined. He totally refuses to leave the house. Third, he starts hallucinating movements and noises in the shadows, jumping at literally every creak. He is exhibiting textbook paranoia. He is hiding out in the village because he is running from something or someone in the city. That confident millionaire act, completely gone. Section 5. Revelation of the truth. The morning visitors. The sun rises, but the nightmare is just becoming real. Vikram's nighttime fears are completely validated the very next morning when mysterious strangers arrive at the broken house. Just look at how rapidly this lie unravels on this timeline. In the afternoon, he's hosting the extravagant lunch, acting like a king. By night, he is consumed by intense paranoia behind locked doors. By morning, strangers are at the door demanding to see him. And just minutes later, we get a forced confession of theft. Within less than 24 hours, he goes from the village hero to a cornered, totally exposed criminal. These strangers do not mince words. They reveal to the shocked parents that Vikram never actually had a legitimate job in the city. He was involved in illegal activities, stole their money, and fled back to the village hoping to lay low. And here is the profound irony of the whole situation. It turns out Vikram's extravagant banquet, the very thing he used to show off, actually acted like a massive flare. It completely gave away his hiding spot, making it incredibly easy for the men he robbed to track him right down to his doorstep. Finally, Section 6. Triumph of Ethics, a Father's Judgment. This is the absolute climax of the story. The truth is out. The criminals want their money and their revenge. And the father, Mahendra, who just yesterday was bursting with pride, is suddenly forced to make an impossible, agonizing choice. Vikram falls to his knees. He begs for mercy, telling the men, "Forgive me, don't hand me over to the law." He's promising to return all the stolen money if they just let him walk. He looks to his father for protection, desperately hoping family loyalty is going to outweigh his crimes. But Mahendra, he holds his ground. Despite his immense poverty, despite his deep love for his kid, he rigidly stands by his morals. He looks at his son and declares, "We have no compromise with those who do wrong." He refuses to protect him. He steps aside, allowing the men to hand Vikram over to the police, choosing his integrity over his own flesh and blood. And the fallout of this decision is intense. Mahendra formally disowns his criminal son right in front of the village. He declares powerfully that their broken house is vastly better than a mansion built on sin and theft. And finally, he vows to only ever eat meat pulao again if it is bought with honest, hard-earned money. Which brings us full circle right back to our opening quote. Mahendra's deep, soul-crushing shame stems from realizing his fleeting moment of pride and joy was completely funded by his son's crime. So, as we wrap up this explainer, quick memory test for you. How many kilograms of meat did Vikram buy for that doomed feast? Do you remember? It was 15 to 20 kilograms, a massive number that ultimately sealed his fate. But more importantly, I really want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. Is material wealth ever worth sacrificing your peace of mind and your family's honor? Because true wealth isn't about what's on your plate or the car you pull up in. It's about how you earned it and being able to actually sleep soundly when the sun goes down. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this fascinating story, and keep seeking the truth behind the narrative.